Good morning and welcome to another episode of Good Work Southwest Florida. I'm your host, Kayla Bornell, and today we are cooking up tradition. We have Amy Snyder and Rosette Gerbosi here to talk to us today about an amazing event. Good morning, ladies. How are you guys?
Good morning. Fine, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
And if you want to just tell me a little bit about the upcoming event, Cooking Up Tradition, can you let me know a little bit about that?
Sure. This is a fundraising event for the Holocaust Museum and Education Center of Southwest Florida. It is a luncheon at a private home in Quail West, and the theme is focusing on the Holocaust Survivor Cookbook, which has 2 volumes. And in the second volume, one of our local survivors, Rosette, her story is featured along with some of her family recipes.
Perfect. And being that the Holocaust was such a tough time in history, and this book highlights your family stories and recipes, how did food play a part in, keeping the legacy alive of your family? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, because my mother was a cook. She was a professional cook. That's how she made a living when she was a young girl. And food in our house was very important. She was a fantastic cook. Her Jewish cooking as well as her French cooking was just unbelievable. She used to keep a fish in the bathtub so that it would be fresh to make a filter fish for Passover. That's how serious a cook she was. And everybody was invited to our house for holiday dinners. It was really very special.
Wow.
That's what I remember about her. Yes, everything was made from scratch, of course.
And we have this legacy in this book with different other family stories and recipes. What kind of food can people expect to see at this event?
Well, we've pulled recipes from both the original Holocaust Survivor Cookbook as well as the second edition, Miracles and Meals. And there will be a vegetarian version of, I forgot what it is, a vegetarian pate, I think, a vegetarian. And there is the traditional, a cold borscht, a beet soup, and let's see, I just looked at the menu today. It is brisket with a potato kugel, and then for dessert it will be one of Rosette's recipes, which is a chocolate mousse cake.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yes, it is.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you all plan to use food to represent this amazing and rich legacy of these people who went through this experience and their ancestors who came out on the other side of it? Can you tell me how food will play a part in that?
Well, I think it just binds people together because everybody knows there are certain traditional foods that are used for certain holidays. Chicken soup, brisket, potato latkes for Hanukkah, and everybody still does it to this day. So this is how we bring the past to the present, and we hope that our children will continue the tradition of making these wonderful foods.
Perfect.
And with the Holocaust Museum, we created a curriculum called Cooking Up Hope, How Tradition Builds Community. And so this event is sort of a play off of that, but it's a curriculum that we developed with Pine Ridge Middle School, and the students would start with learning about the Holocaust and the survivor stories and cooking the recipes in the Holocaust Survivor Cookbook. And throughout the curriculum, they would then look at their own families and what are the traditions in their families, what are the food traditions and the religious traditions and the cultural traditions, and the concept of traditions help us to build strong families, and strong families build strong communities. So they start with the story of the Holocaust and they end with the story of their own family.
Wow, and so y'all are using food to show this experience and to represent the tradition and the importance of tolerance and respect amongst our community, which is an amazing thing. And I know that you have a lot of speaking engagements where you speak to the community. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do, being that you are a local Holocaust survivor? How do you teach the people in our community about those important things like tolerance and respect of community? How do you go about that?
Well, I tell them my story. I was born in Paris, France. As a little girl, I was hidden by my parents, and 2 weeks after I was hidden in the south of France, they were arrested and sent to Auschwitz, and they were killed. And I teach them how we suffered persecution, and because of the fact that we were Jewish, nothing else. And I teach these children to promote tolerance and teach these children to respect each other, to love each other, to protect each other, and not to suffer abuse, to report any abuse whatsoever. And I think it's pretty effective, and they're very grateful that I do tell my story.
It's an amazing story to read.